Hey there, today I am very excited to talk about another incarnation of Spider-Man Peter Parker and all the things he is going to enable, as well as comparing him to his former core box counterpart and how they differ, are similar, and who wore it better. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. So we first had Middle Age doing this a little while Spider-Man from the first core set, and then we got the Amazing Spider-Man, or ASM later on with Black Cat, who is the experienced Spider-Man, and now with Spectacular Spider-Man we have the young teenage Parker. And well, there are a few reasons that this new Spider-Man has me excited. So I'm going to go over his card, point out some playstyle tips and tricks, his likely affiliations, and then the new Team Tactic card that is coming with him in the core box that really any of the three Peter Parkers can play. And then finally I'll be comparing him to the original Spider-Man from the first core box. So let's dive into the latest version of Pete. He has 5 stamina, moves medium, is size 2 and 3 threat. His defenses across the board are 3s, but has some spidey senses that will help him out a bit. He has 3 physical attacks in total. The first is a swinging strike with a range of 3, strength of 5 for no power. It's a gainer which guarantees 3-peat 1 power from the attack, and if you roll a wild and a hit, he also gets to trigger elusive, letting him advance short after the attack is resolved. Range 3 is nice, and gaining 1 guaranteed power versus gaining power equal to damage dealt is a bit of a toss-up, but for a guy that has very specific needs with his power, the guarantee isn't a bad thing. His second attack is a pretty familiar impact webbing. It's a range and strength of 4 with no power cost. Again, he gains 1 guaranteed power, and on a wild he gets to push a size 2 character away short. We then have his big spender, the Webhead Wallop. This one only has a range of 2, but comes in with a strength of 7 for 4 power. If you manage a hit and a wild in the roll, you get to choose a terrain feature of size 2 or less within range 3 of Spidey, and kind of throw it at the target of the attack, giving this attack 2 separate instances of damage, which could be a really big against those annoying characters who have like the damage reduction reduced by 1 kind of stuff. However, I think the better use for his power comes with his first 2 superpowers. The active Web Slinger costs 2 power and lets Peter place within range 3 of his current position once per turn, which I mean, like, a range 3 place for 2 power is kind of like some of the best mobility in the game. ASM has it, Miles Morales Spider-Man has it, Agent Venom has it. It keeps them mobile, it's just really good. Then additionally, he has the proportionate strength of a spider, which will cost 3. This lets him choose an enemy character of size 3 or less, and within range 3 to be thrown small once per turn, or short once per turn. So some solid range control that can also be some significant damage. Throwing around a size 3 enemy can be, well, quite impactful. We then have the well-known Spider Sense innate ability, which will let him reroll up to 2 defense dice when defending against physical or energy attacks, or making a dodge roll. And then finally we have Wall Crawler innate, letting him leap over pretty much whatever he needs to. There are no notable changes on his injured side, being that there are none, but there is plenty on here that makes Pete noteworthy. His overall durability is the pretty standard affair for a 3 threat, but with some rerolls. How helpful those are up to your luck with the dice, but it's still above average, which is nice. He has a range 3 gainer that can also give him a little bit of extra movement, and barring that, you can just web slinger to where you need to get to go, so his mobility is also going to be above average. He has control both with an attack and his throw, which you can be guaranteed to have enough power for turn 2 onwards, which is again really nice. And finally, he can have a wallop of a spender to deal out some damage, but it's not necessarily his strong suit. So when looking at what all a character has access to, it's broken down usually into 4 or 5 checkboxes. And this version of Pete is batting really well. He has mobility both on an attack and an action-free superpower. He has objective play / control in both an attack and an action-free superpower once again. He has defensive tech, which gets supercharged by the most common web warrior leadership, and he is doing everything he mostly wants to from a decent distance away, which is its own kind of just defensive bonus as it is. The two boxes he doesn't check are damage output and power generation, but I don't think that these are overly concerning. For one thing, he excels in a lot of the other categories, and at just 3 threat. His damage output is something that is at least average in for a 3 threat, and then the power generation is going to limit what Spidey can get away with in a single turn because you can't spike and get access to all of his cool toys, but you are likely getting enough power every single turn for the extra mobility or to get his throw off thanks to the consistency of those gainers. I have seen people who think he needs to have like a web pull or just like something else, but again, like look at Gwen or 4 threat Parker. This guy fits a little bit of a different niche, but is probably a bit more well-rounded as a 3 threat. I don't have any specific tricks that are worth investing game plans for, but giving him a power-generating leadership can create a beastly spider from turn 1. Obviously, Pete is going to be a web warrior and can't really be played along with Amazing's leadership, but I think he's going to appreciate Miles' defensive leadership anyways to help those defense dice more likely to show the blocks you need. Interestingly, AMG seems to have hinted that this Spidey will be a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of looking at the cartoon, I don't even know, there's so many different ones, what the name was, where he and like White Tiger, Power Man, and a young Nova were all working under S.H.I.E.L.D. as young heroes, so maybe that's what they're kind of going for. Personally, this isn't an affiliation I'm super experienced with, but there could be some interesting synergies with Nick Jr., and joining the Invincible Iron Man shield would be great to get even more rerolls going on, help with that offensive consistency a little bit, but comes with the downside of making Peter really power-starved at that point. Unfortunately, we can be pretty certain that Spider-Man still isn't an Avenger thanks to Will's confirmation from Gen Con. Of these affiliations, I think I am most excited to see him with Miles and the Web Warriors because it gives them another solid 3 to maximize the use of an all-webbed up turn that is a more generalist, where some of the other 3s that we have in the affiliation have very specific roles. Looking at you, Black Cat. So just having more emphasis on the webbed up turn, more control, more mobility, are all things that the Web Warriors like anyway. As well, I think this might be the best use of a Spider-Man to play cleanup alongside Agent Venom, if the matchup makes sense for it. The other card that feels more tailor-made for Amazing Spider-Man is Go Get 'Em Tiger, which comes with this new core set. It's unaffiliated and reactive and allows for Peter Parker to spend 2 power after dazing or KOing a non-grunt enemy character. Then they can heal 3, remove a condition, and if he isn't contesting a secure objective, can advance short. Now, granted, this isn't a bad card for any version of Peter, but Amazing Spider-Man seems the most likely to do some dazing and KOing and having the power and health pool to take a full advantage of that healing of 3. Now, with all of the new stuff talked about, let's look at the similarities and differences in the 2 core spiders. And I think out of all of the characters I'm going to be doing this with, these 2 have the most in common by a lot. Their defensive stats are nearly identical with the exception of 4 threat Parker having 6 stamina instead of 5 on his healthy side. The first 2 attacks are pretty close to identical, with the new Spectacular Spider-Man having range 3 and it being a gainer instead. The Spectacular's throw gets a size upgrade, but now can't interact with terrain. They both have a spender that isn't likely to be used that often. Really, the biggest difference is that one of them has the web pull and the other has a web swing. So, putting the memes aside, regular Spider-Man is still a scary control piece that your opponent should be very concerned about if he has a lot of power. However, he never was out there laying a beatdown. This new Parker hits about the same, but for a threat less, and loses the super control in exchange for a range 3 place. Which is a more than fair trade-off for, again, a whole threat less. So as it stands, unless you think you're going to need the extra tugs and pulls from the core Spider-Man, Spectacular is going to fill a lot of these same things you could get from Standard Peter. I honestly don't think that Spider-Man gets completely shelved for Spectacular, because he does have a controlled niche along with Gwen to late game just deny every single secure objective from your opponent. However, generally, I think Spectacular will see more table time because for a threat less, he is very, very similar and still able to be impactful in ways that will benefit the Web Warriors. I do hope that if we get another character card update, that Core Spider-Man, the first one, gets a second look to get his builder up to range 3, or something to help differentiate him a little bit more from the Spectacular Spider-Man. That is all I have for today and the new Spider-Man, though. But because it's the first video of the month that I am home for stuff, I also want to go ahead and announce that this month's giveaway winner from Tritex is Steven Taylor, talking about the Fantastic Four. And I just have to say that I really hope that everyone knows that the Fantastic Four Year 4 is never anything said or even hinted at by AMG. It's just something that the community made and ran with. Now, granted, I still want them myself, so I'm maybe at the end of Year 4, who knows. But I have a feeling a certain mouse is the one holding its hand over the iconic family until a certain feature film is released. But congratulations to Steven, I'll be reaching out to you soon. If you want to enter into this month's monthly giveaway yourself, all you need to do is be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment on a video the same month that it was released to enter. And I do want to go ahead and give Tritex as well as Game Chefs a full shout out here at the end of the video. If you're shopping online for your mini stuff anyways, consider using them to support an LGS that hosts game nights and a place to play for their local players. If you're in the UK, you can shop at Tritex and use the code TRITEXGGCP5 at checkout for an extra 5% off. And if you use that on a pre-order item like the core box, it'll actually net you 25% off of MRSP. For those who are shopping in the US, you can head to gamechefs.org and use the code GamersGuild, no spaces, to save an extra 15% off of their already discounted prices, which comes out to a really good bargain on your end. As well, Game Chefs has reached out and said that from now until October 10th, any purchases in the US made with that discount code will also enter you into a chance to win the new core box. With all of that said, I will always and continue to say, if you're shopping from your own LGS, keep supporting them. They need it, we understand, and honestly appreciate you supporting your community. And with that, I want to say thanks to the members of the Guild Hall who are supporting the channel and podcasts with your contributions in such a way that really has helped this channel and podcasts and all those things flourish to a point that it would not be able to if it was not for that support. So, serious thank you to all of you. And thank you all for watching. Until next time, keep on gaming.